Rare footage, Black Top Gun's first solo flight in the white man's fighter jet. The wilderness of Tuskegee. The Alabama Schooner beat down with an oppressive, unyielding heat, baking the red earth of Tuskegee Army airfield into a fine, pervasive dust. It was Ek and the world was aflame, but here, amidst the roar of engines and the distant crackle of radio static, Captain James S. Richardson felt a different kind of fire, one of frustration and unfulfilled potential. He stood beside a gleaming P-Biog Ekano Mustang, its silver skin reflecting the harsh light, a machine of unparalleled grace and lethal intent. This was the white man's fighter jet, as some of the white officers derisively called it, a symbol of the aerial superiority that African-American pilots were supposedly incapable of mastering. James, a man whose quiet demeanor belied his steel-tripped mind and reflex honed to perfection, ran a gloved hand over the Mustang's wing. He could feel the power humming beneath the surface, a beast straining at the leash. He knew this aircraft, not just from manuals, but from countless hours of mental flight, visualizing every maneuver, every dive, every climb. Yet the opportunity to truly command it, to unleash its full fury in combat, remained a distant mirage. Still dreaming, Ace, a voice drawled, pulling him from his reverie. Lieutenant Marcus Stone, James' closest friend and fellow Tuskegee Airman, approached, a wry smile playing on his lips. Marcus, with his easy charm and quick wit, was the perfect foil to James' stoicism. One day, brother. One day they'll have no choice, but to let us fly these birds where they belong. James nodded, his gaze still fixed on the Mustang. It's not just about flying them, Marcus. It's about proving them wrong. Every single one of them. He gestured subtly towards the officers' mess hall, where Colonel George Westbrook held court. Westbrook, a man whose face seemed permanently etched with skepticism, was the embodiment of the systemic Daniel James and his comrades faced. Westbrook believed, with an almost religious fervor, that black pilots lacked the intellectual capacity, the emotional stability, and the innate courage required for advanced aerial combat. He showed the Tuskegee experiment not as a pathway to equality, but as a necessary, if regrettable, concession to political pressure. Westbrook's a hard nut to crack, Marcus conceded, but even Pharaoh's heart softened eventually, didn't it? We're in our wilderness, Ace, but the promised land is out there. The biblical analogy of Moses and the Israelites resonated deeply with James. He often felt like Moses, leading his people through a desert of prejudice, constantly battling doubt and resistance, both from within and without. The promised land for him wasn't a physical territory, but a sky free of racial barriers, where skill alone dictated destiny. He carried the weight of his entire race on his shoulders, knowing that every success, every failure, would be scrutinized and used to either uplift or condemn. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Flight Instructor Major Harold Bennett. Unlike Westbrook, Bennett was a man of quiet integrity, he sees holding a depth of understanding that transcended the color line. He was a veteran pilot, scarred by combat, who recognized true talent regardless of its packaging. He had seen James fly the less advanced P-Biog Julis and P-Biog Unjulis, witnessed his precision, his calm under pressure, his uncanny ability to anticipate an enemy's move. Bennett was James' staunchest advocate, a lone voice of reason in the chores of prejudice. Richardson, Stone, Bennett greeted, his voice clipped but not unkind. Colonel Westbrook wants to see you, Richardson. In his office. Now. A knot tightened in James' stomach. A summons from Westbrook usually meant another lecture on the limitations of Negro pilots, another assignment to a manual task, another brick in the wall of his frustration. Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. Go get them, Ace. Show 'em what a real pilot looks like. In Westbrook's office, the air was thick with the smell of stale cigar smoke and unspoken judgment. Westbrook sat behind a large mahogany desk, his uniform immaculate, his gaze cold and assessing. Beside him stood Sergeant William Doc Hayes, the ground crew chief, a burly, no-nonsense man with grease perpetually under his fingernails. Doc Hayes, a white man from the Deep South, had initially been skeptical of the Tuskegee program, but his respect for the pilots, particularly James, had grown with every perfectly executed landing and every meticulously maintained aircraft. He was an unlikely Oli, a man who judged by performance, not skin color. Captain Richardson, Westbrook began, his voice devoid of warmth. Major Bennett has, against my better judgment, convinced me to grant you a unique opportunity. He passed, letting the words hang in the air, heavy with his disapproval. We have a new PBOG Ekannud, fresh off the line. It's a temperamental beast, requires a delicate touch, and frankly, a level of pellet skill I'm not convinced you possess. James stood at attention, his face a mask of professional difference, but inside, a storm raged. Temperamental beast. Delicate touch. He wanted to shout, to argue, to demand the respect he had earned. But he knew better. He had to play the game, to navigate this wilderness with patience and unwavering resolve. However, Westbrook continued, Bennett insists you have the aptitude. So, you will be assigned to this aircraft. Your task will be to perform a series of all-flights, familiarization maneuvers. No combat. No formation flying. Just you and the machine. If you so much as scratch it, Richardson, your flying career is over. Understood. Understood, sir, James replied, his voice steady, betraying none of the elation that surged through him. It wasn't the promised land, not yet, but it was a glimpse, a foot in the door. It was a chance to prove his worth, not just to Westbrook, but to himself. Doc Hayes, standing silently beside Westbrook, offered James a subtle, almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. It was a small gesture, but in that moment, it meant everything. As James left the office, the Alabama Shun seemed a little less oppressive, the dust a little less suffocating. He had been given a chance, a perilous one, but a chance nonetheless. The PBOG Ekannud, the white man's fighter jet, awaited. He knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, with the constant threat of failure and the ever-present shadow of prejudice. But like Moses, he would press on, through the wilderness, towards the promise of a better tomorrow. The first solo flight in that advanced machine would be more than just it would be a declaration. Subscribe to discover more untold stories of the hero's history forgot. The PBOG Ekannud, gleaming under the Hoshutasi Shun, felt different. It wasn't just another aircraft, it was a crucible, all of James Richardson's very being. Doc Hayes, his face smudged with grease, meticulously checked the fuel lines, his movements precise and practiced. She's a beauty, Captain, Doc grunted, without looking up. And she knows it, don't let it fool you with that pretty face. She'll bite if you ain't careful. James nodded, absorbing every word. Doc Hayes, despite his gruff exterior, was a master mechanic, a man who understood the intricate dance between man and machine. He had seen countless pilots come and go, and he had an uncanny ability to gauge their true mettle. His respect, hard-won and genuine, was a badge of honor for James. Major Bennett approached, his expression serious. Remember what we discussed, Richardson. This isn't about speed or acrobatics. It's about control. Precision. Understanding the aircraft's nuances. Westbrook will be watching. Every move. Every twitch of the stick. James strapped himself into the cockpit, the familiar scent of aviation fuel and leather filling his nostrils. The controls felt alien yet strangely familiar, a testament to his hours of mental preparation. The PBOG Ekannud was a leap forward from the PBOG Julish he was accustomed to. Its Merlin engine, a marvel of engineering, promised unparalleled power and altitude performance. But with that power came complexity, a more sensitive throttle, a trickier landing gear, a higher stall speed. It demanded absolute mastery, a symbiotic relationship between pilot and machine. He ran through the pre-flight checklist, his voice calm and clear over the radio. Testige Tower, this is Red Tail One, request taxi clearance for a flight. Red Tail One, cleared to taxi to runway 27, came the crisp reply. As he taxied, the PBOG Ekannud vibrated with barely contained energy. He could feel the ease of the ground crew, the other pilots, and undoubtedly, Colonel Westbrook, fixed upon him. This wasn't just a flight, it was a performance, a desperate plea for recognition in a world determined to deny the thought of Moses standing before Pharaoh, demanding freedom for his people. James wasn't asking for freedom from bondage, but freedom from the chains of prejudice, the right to serve his country with the full extent of his abilities. The weight of expectation was immense, a burden that could crush a lesser man. He lined up on the runway, the long stretch of asphalt disappearing into the shimmering heat haze. He took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and pushed the throttle forward. The Merlin engine roared to life, a symphony of raw power. The P-Biog Ekanu surged forward, gathering speed with astonishing rapidity. The tail lifted, the runway blurred, and then, with a gentle tug on the stick, James was airborne. The world fell away beneath him, the patchwork fields of Alabama shrinking into an abstract painting. He climbed steadily, the P-Biog Ekanud responding to his every comment with an almost telepathic connection. He executed a series of gentle turns, testing the aircraft's responsiveness, feeling its balance. The controls were indeed more sensitive, requiring a lighter touch, a more nuanced understanding of aerodynamics. He felt the subtle shifts in air pressure, the whisper of the wind over the wings, translating them into precise adjustments. He performed a series of climbs and dives, feeling the forces press him into his seat, then left him slightly. He pushed the aircraft to its limits, not recklessly, but with a calculated precision, exploring its envelope. He executed a slow roll, the horizon spinning around him, then righted the plane with effortless grace. Each maneuver was a testament to his skill, a silent defiance of Westbrook's doubts. Below, on the tarmac, Westbrook watched through binoculars, his expression unreadable. Beside him, Major Bennett allowed himself a small, almost imperceptible smile. Doc Hayes, wiping his hands on a rag, simply nodded. They saw what James was doing, not just flying, but dancing with the machine, coaxing out its full potential. James' internal monologue was a torrent of focused concentration, interspersed with moments of profound reflection. This is what they said we couldn't do. This is the promised land of the ski, and I'm here, flying through what he felt a surge of exhilaration, a sense of liberation that transcended the confines of the cockpit. He was not just James Richardson, the black pilot, he was a pilot, pure and unadulterated, soaring through the heavens. He brought the P-Biog Ekanud into a high-speed bus over the field, the roar of the Merlin engine echoing across the base. Then, he began his descent, setting up for a landing. This was often the trickiest part, especially with a new aircraft. The P-Biog Ekanud had a narrower landing gear track than the P-Biog Julish, making it more prone to ground loops if not handled perfectly. He approached the runway, his eyes scanning the instruments, his hands and feet working in perfect harmony. The aircraft touched down with a feather-like grace, a barely perceptible bump, and then rolled smoothly down the runway. He taxied back to the hangar, the engine purring contentedly. As he cut the power, the sudden silence was almost deafening. He unstrapped himself, his muscles etching but his spirit soaring. Doc Hayes was there, a rare grin on his face. "Well, I'll be damned, Captain. You made that P-Biog Ekanud sing." Major Bennett clapped him on the shoulder. "Excellent flight, Richardson. Truly excellent." Westbrook, however, remained impassive. He walked up to James, his eyes narrowed. "You handled it adequately, Richardson. But on a flight does not make a combat pilot. This was merely a familiarization. Don't get ahead of yourself." He turned and walked away, his words a cold shower on James' triumph. Despite Westbrook's dismissive tone, James knew he had made an impression. He had taken the first step across the metaphorical Jordan, proving that the wilderness of doubt could be navigated. The promised land of true combat was still distant, but it was no longer an impossible dream. He had flown the white man's fighter jet, and he had flown it flawlessly. Like this video, if you believe talent transcends race and color. The days that followed James Richardson's initial off-flight were a blur of intense training. Major Bennett, now more convinced than ever of James' capabilities, pushed him relentlessly. They spent hours in the briefing room, dissecting aerial tactics, studying enemy aircraft, and poring over maps of the Mediterranean theater. In the cockpit, James honed his skills, practicing dogfighting maneuvers against Marcus Stone in a P-Biog Julish, perfecting his gunnery runs, and mastering the intricate art of formation flying. The P-Biog Ekanud became an extension of his will, a powerful, responsive partner in the dance of the skis. Colonel Westbrook, while still maintaining a facade of skepticism, could not deny the evidence. James' flight logs were impeccable, his performance consistently exceeding expectations. The other white pilots, initially dismissive, began to watch James with a grudging respect. Even Doc Hayes, the ever-stoic mechanic, would occasionally offer a rare compliment, a testament to James' growing reputation. On a sweltering afternoon, Major Bennett called James in a hiss of fuss. "Richardson," he began, his voice serious, "we've received orders. A new squadron of PBOG Ekanuds is being deployed to the Mediterranean. They need experienced pilots to ferry them across and then lead them into combat. I've put your name forward." James felt a jolt of adrenaline. This was at the true crossing of the Jordan. The opportunity to leave the wilderness of Tuskegee behind and enter the promised land of actual combat. "Thank you, sir," he managed, his voice thick with emotion. "Don't thank me yet," Bennett warned. Westbrook still has reservations. He insisted on a final, critical, a long-range ferry flight, solo, across a significant portion of the Atlantic. It's a grueling journey, prone to mechanical failures, and requires absolute precision in navigation. If you complete it successfully, you're in. If not. Bennett didn't need to finish the sentence. Failure meant a return to the purgatory of Tuskegee, his dreams of combat shattered. The challenge was immense. Flying solo across the vast expanse of the ocean, relying solely on his instruments and his own judgment, was a daunting prospect. It was all of endurance, skill, and mental fortitude. But James felt a profound sense of calm. He had prepared for this, not just physically, but spiritually. He thought of Moses, leading his people through the parted Red Sea, facing the unknown with faith and courage. James knew he carried the hopes of many on his shoulders, and he would not falter. The day of the ferry flight dawned clear and bright. The PBOG Ekanud, meticulously prepared by Doc Hayes and his crew, gleamed under the morning sun. Marcus Stone was there, offering a firm handshake and a heartfelt "Godspeed, Ace. Make em proud." Colonel Westbrook stood at a distance, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. James climbed into the cockpit, the familiar scent of the aircraft a comforting presence. He ran through the pre-flight checks, his movements deliberate and precise. He took off, the powerful Merlin engine lifting him effortlessly into the sky. He circled the field once, a sullen farewell to Tuskegee, then set his course eastward, towards the vast, shimmering expanse of the Atlantic. The hours that followed were a testament to human endurance. The monotonous drone of the engine, the endless horizon, the constant vigilance required to maintain course and altitude, it was a mental and physical marathon. He battled fatigue, the subtle shifts in wind, and the ever-present fear of engine trouble over the unforgiving ocean. He navigated by dead reckoning, celestial navigation, and the occasional radio beacon, his mind a finely tuned instrument. Midway through the flight, a sudden squall erupted, turning the clear skies into a maelstrom of wind and rain. The PBOG Ekanud bucked and swayed, tossed about like a toy. James fought the controls, his knuckles white, his ears glued to the instruments. He remembered Bennett's words: control, precision. He wrestled the aircraft through the turbulence, his skill and training guiding him through the chase. He emerged from the storm, shaken but triumphant, the PBOG Ekanud still flying true. As he approached the coast of North Africa, the land appearing as a faint smudge on the horizon, a wave of relief washed over him. He had known that he had crossed the Jordan. He had navigated the wilderness of the Atlantic, overcoming both the elements and the doubts that had plagued his journey. He landed a forward operating base in Tunisia, the PBOG Ekanud touching down with the same faith-allied grace he had demonstrated at Tuskegee. As he taxied to the dispersal area, a small crowd of ground crew and officers gathered, their faces a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Among them was Major Bennett, a genuine smile gracing his lips. "Welcome to the Mediterranean, Captain Richardson," Bennett sighed, extending a hand as James climbed out of the cockpit. "You flew that bird like it was born to you." James simply nodded, a quiet sense of accomplishment settling over him. He had faced the ultimate odds, and he had passed. The white man's fighter jet was now his. The promised land of combat awaited, and he was ready to claim his place in the skies. He knew the fight for equality was far from over, but he had opened a door, not just for himself, but for all those who would follow. His journey, like Moses, was a testament to perseverance, faith, and the unwavering belief in a destiny that transcended the limitations imposed by others. Drop a comment: who's a hero from your family history that deserves recognition? The Mediterranean theater was a stark contrast to the familiar, dusty fields of Tuskegee. The air was thick with the scent of salt and distant battles, the skies a canvas for the brutal ballad of aerial warfare. Captain James S. Richardson, now a seasoned combat pilot, found himself leading a squadron of PBO Ekannuds, the tails painted a distinctive red, the hallmark of the Tuskegee Airmen. Lieutenant Marcus Stone flew on his wing, his presence a constant source of camaraderie and strength. Colonel Westbrook, now stationed at the same forward operating base, still maintained a professional distance, but the SS kept his men he sees had out, replaced by a grudging respect. He had seen the combat reports, witnessed the precision of Richardson's flying, and heard the accolades from other squadron leaders. James had not just proven himself, he had excelled, becoming one of the most effective fighter pilots in the theater. The PBO Ekannud, once dubbed the white man's fighter jet, was now simply his Mustang. He had mastered its every nuance, pushing its Merlin engine to its limits, outmaneuvering German Biog Actionis and full Biog Actionobois with a deadly grace. His dual combat missions were a testament to his skill and resilience, each only a small victory against the enemy and a larger triumph against the prejudice he had faced. On a crisp morning, intelligence reported a large formation of German bombers, escorted by a formidable contingent of fighters, heading towards a critical Allied supply convoy. It was a high-stakes mission, one that would determine the fate of thousands of troops and vital supplies. James' squadron, the Red Tails, was tasked with intercepting the enemy. "All right, Red Tails," James' voice crackled over the radio, calm and authoritative. "Standard escort formation. Stick close. We protect that convoy at all costs. Remember your training. Remember why we're here." As they climbed to altitude, the sun blending off their red tails, James felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. This was the promised land he had fought so hard to reach, the place where his skill, not his skin color, defined him. He is no longer just fighting for recognition, he was fighting for freedom, for justice, for the very ideals that America, despite its flaws, represented. Soon, the enemy formation appeared, a swarm of black dots against the distant horizon, growing rapidly into menacing shapes. The German fighters, a mix of Biog Actionis and full Biog Actionobois, peeled off to engage the Red Tails, while the bombers pressed on towards the convoy. "Tally-ho! Engage!" James commanded, his voice sharp and clear. The sky erupted into a maelstrom of gunfire, twisting metal, and roaring engines. James plunged into the fray, his PBO Ekannud a silver dart amidst the chase. He weaved and dodged, his eyes scanning the sky, his hands and feet working in perfect harmony with the aircraft. He locked onto an full Biog Actionoboi, its distinctive radial engine a clear target. He squeezed the trigger, the Bonchach caliber machine gun spitting fire, and watched as the German fighter exploded into a ball of flame. Marcus, flying on his wing, accounted for another enemy plane, his voice whooping with acceleration over the radio. "Got him, Ace. Throw down." The battle raged, a desperate struggle for air superiority. James saw a German fighter lining up on Marcus' tail. "Marcus, break right. Bandit at 6 o'clock, he yelled, simultaneously banking hard, bringing his own guns to bear. A burst of fire from James' Mustang sent the German fighter spiraling out of control. "Thanks, Ace. You saved my hide," Marcus shouted, his voice filled with gratitude. James continued to engage, his mind a whirlwind of tactical decisions, his body reacting with instinctual precision. He was a force of nature, a black blur against the blue sky, a testament to the power of a dream realized. He shot down another Biog Actionoi, then another, his score steadily climbing. The German fighters, surprised by the ferocity and skill of the Red Tails, began to break formation, their escort mission faltering. With the enemy fighters scattered, James turned his attention to the bombers. He led his squadron a series of devastating attacks, their guns tearing through the unsworded German aircraft. One by one, the bombers fell from the sky, their payloads never reaching the convoy. When the last German plane had either been destroyed or fled, the sky fell silent, save for the distant hum of their own engines. The convoy below, felt battered, was stiff. James looked around, seeing the triumphant Red Tails of his squadron still flying strong. They had done it, they had protected the convoy, and in doing so, had further cemented their legacy. Back on the ground, the base was buzzing with news of their victory. Colonel Westbrook met James as he climbed out of his cockpit, his face, for the first time, showing a genuine smile. "Captain Richardson," he sighed, extending his hand. "That was an exemplary display of airmanship. You and your men have proven yourselves beyond a shadow of a doubt." James shook his hand, a quiet sense of vindication settling over him. He had not just reached the promised land, he had conquered it. He had faced the wilderness of doubt and discrimination, the trials of the advanced fighter jet, and the fire of combat, emerging victorious. His first solo flight in the white man's fighter jet had been the turning point, the moment he truly crossed the Jordan, paving the way for a legacy that would inspire generations. The Tuskegee Airmen, led by men like James S. Richardson, had not only fought the enemy abroad, but had also fought for equality at home, proving that courage and skill knew no color. Their story was a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome adversity and reach for the skies. Subscribe now to never miss stories of courage that changed history.